Imagine buying a piece of land larger than France, Germany, Spain, and Italy combined for just $7.2 million. Today, that amount wouldn't even buy a handful of luxury mansions. Yet in 1867, it was enough for the United States to purchase Alaska from Russia. At the time, the deal was ridiculed across America. Newspapers called it Seward's Folly, and politicians mocked it as a waste of money, believing the government had spent millions on nothing more than a frozen wilderness. But today, Alaska is one of America's most valuable territories, rich in natural resources and strategically important on the world stage. So why did Russia sell such an enormous piece of land? And why did America buy a territory that almost everyone believed was worthless? The answer is a fascinating story of war, politics, and one decision that changed history forever. To understand why Alaska belongs to the United States today, we need to travel back more than 250 years. During the 18th century, Russian explorers crossed the vast wilderness of Siberia and eventually reached the northern coast of North America. They discovered Alaska, a land covered with mountains, glaciers, forests, and an abundance of wildlife. At that time, nobody knew about the massive oil and gas reserves hidden beneath its frozen ground. Instead, Alaska's greatest treasure was something much smaller: the sea otter. Sea otter fur was considered one of the most valuable commodities in the world, especially in China, where wealthy merchants were willing to pay enormous sums for luxurious pelts. Russian traders quickly established settlements along Alaska's coastline, and for several decades the fur trade generated huge profits. However, success didn't last forever. Excessive hunting caused sea otter populations to collapse, profits declined dramatically, and maintaining distant settlements became increasingly expensive. Alaska, once a profitable colony, slowly transformed into a financial burden for the Russian Empire. Then Russia faced an even greater crisis. Between 1853 and 1856, the Crimean War broke out, with Russia fighting against Britain, France, and the Ottoman Empire. The conflict drained Russia's economy, weakened its military, and exposed just how difficult it had become to defend its enormous empire. Alaska was located thousands of kilometers away from Moscow, separated by vast oceans and harsh weather. There were very few Russian settlers, almost no military forces, and almost no infrastructure. If another war broke out, especially with Britain, whose forces were already established in neighboring Canada, Russia feared that Alaska could easily be captured without compensation. Rather than risk losing the territory in a future conflict, Russian leaders decided it would be far better to sell it while they still had the chance. But why sell it to the United States? The answer was surprisingly strategic. Russia viewed Britain as its greatest rival and believed that strengthening the United States would make it more difficult for Britain to expand its influence across North America. At the same time, America was rapidly growing westward under the belief that its future lay across the entire continent. The country's Secretary of State, William H. Seward, strongly supported the idea of purchasing Alaska. While many people saw nothing but snow and ice, Seward believed the territory could become valuable in the future. Even if nobody else agreed with him, his vision would soon be put to the test. On March 30th, 1867, the United States officially purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, which worked out to roughly 2 cents per acre. It remains one of the largest land purchases in history. Yet instead of celebrating, much of the American public laughed at the deal. Critics called the territory Seward's Folly, Seward's Icebox, and even Andrew Johnson's Polar Bear Garden. They believed the government had wasted millions of dollars on an uninhabitable block of ice with no real economic value. For years, it appeared those critics might have been right. Alaska remained sparsely populated, difficult to develop, and far removed from America's major cities. But beneath its frozen landscape lay resources that would completely transform its importance. Everything changed near the end of the 19th century when gold was discovered in Alaska and neighboring Yukon. The Klondike Gold Rush attracted thousands of fortune seekers, bringing new settlements, businesses, and infrastructure to the region. Soon after, geologists discovered enormous reserves of oil, natural gas, coal, copper, and other valuable minerals. Alaska also became home to some of the richest fishing grounds in the world. What many had dismissed as worthless wilderness turned into one of the most resource-rich territories under American control. The purchase that had once been mocked as a disastrous mistake suddenly looked like one of the greatest bargains in history. But Alaska's value extends far beyond its natural resources. If you look at a map, you'll notice something remarkable. At the narrowest point of the Bering Strait, Alaska and Russia are separated by only about 85 kilometers, or 53 miles. This location has made Alaska strategically important for more than a century. During the Cold War, it served as a critical front line for radar systems, military bases, and air defense against the Soviet Union. Today, as climate change opens new Arctic shipping routes and competition for northern resources increases, Alaska continues to play a major role in American national security and global geopolitics. What once seemed like a remote and isolated wilderness has become one of the most strategically significant places in the Northern Hemisphere. So why does America own Alaska today? Because Russia could no longer afford to defend it after the Crimean War. Because selling it to the United States weakened Britain's influence in North America. And because one visionary American leader believed that a frozen wilderness might someday become priceless. In 1867, millions of people laughed at the purchase. More than 150 years later, history has proven that the so-called Seward's Folly was anything but foolish. It became one of the most important land deals ever made, permanently reshaping the map of North America and proving that sometimes the decisions people criticize the most turn out to be the ones that change the world forever.